Hello everyone, it's Nina. Thanks for joining me today for another video. Today I'm going to be sharing one of my absolute favorite techniques, which is glitter stenciling. There's a variety of ways that you could use this technique in your creative process, and today I'm going to be sharing two of those ideas with you. I love using this technique and I've used it many times in the past. So for today's video, I'm going to be showing you two different ways on how to do glitter stenciling. And in the same process, I'm going to be also using new products from the Simon Says Stamp and Back Again release. Now, if you are joining me over the 20th or the 21st, there is a blog hop going on right now showcasing the And Back Again collection from Simon Says Stamp. If you'd like to participate in the hop and see additional inspiration using this new collection and also win some prizes, be sure to check out my blog for the complete details on the blog hop. To start off with, I'm going to take the new Heart Mask stencils and some Simon Says Stamp Positively Saturated ink. With some blending brushes, I'm going to blend through that heart mask and color this heart with a beautiful teal color. I'm going to make sure to leave a little bit of a lighter area in the center just to add a little bit of dimension to the stenciling. I'm not going to remove this mask, but rather I'm going to then bring in the Peonies and Leaves stencil from Simon Says Stamps to the Moon collection, and I'm going to apply this over top of the heart mask that we just used. This stencil has a bit of pixie spray on the back side of it, which is a removable adhesive designed for holding stencils down onto your projects. So I sprayed the back side of the stencil and then laid this over top of the heart mask, and I'm going to ink blend through both stencils using some ocean ink from Simon Says Stamp, which is slightly darker than the surf color we used for the bottom layer of the stenciling. But I'm not going to stop there just yet. I'm going to pull out some Glitz glitter gel. The color I'm using is actually the Seafoam color from Simon Says Stamp, but if you can't get this color, I have another color that I would recommend down in the video description below. So be sure to check out either my blog or the video description for all of the supplies that I used today, as well as the other recommended color that I would use for this project. What you're seeing me do is take an ink blending tool with a sponge dauber and apply that paste in like a speckled format. This is going to do two things. One, it's going to apply a very light layer of that Glitz glitter gel, but at the same time, we're fading it out as it goes towards the center. So we're creating this shaded glitter effect. It looks really, really pretty, and it enhances that beautiful ink blending that we've already done with the flowers and the heart. Now, the heart mask stencils comes with the negative portion of the heart, which I've applied over top of our stenciling, and around the edges of this card panel, I'm going to do a bit more ink blending with that same surf ink color. Then I'm going to take some shimmer mist and splatter that onto the background. Again, we still have that mask over top of our stenciling, so that way we don't add any of this splattering effect on top of it. I pulled in some Distress Picket Fence spray stain, and I'm going to carefully apply that around the edges of my ink blending as well. This is going to create some extra texture to my ink blending, and that's going to add some really nice detail around the edges of this heart. It frames it up really nice. Once all that ink blending dried, I did decide to come back in with some of that surf ink and go over top of that splattering in certain areas just to soften it a bit. I really liked how this created a subtle effect for that splatter, and so it's still there, still creating that texture and that nice shimmer, but it's toned down just a bit, and I like how that looked. So on the back side of this heart panel, I'm covering it with some double-sided tape. This happens to be Redline tape from Simon Says Stamp. My plan with this is to create an edge-to-edge shaker panel. So I have a piece of plastic here that's from some stamp packaging, and I'm going to carefully wrap around that plastic into the adhesive that we've already applied to the back side of our panel. And what that's doing is that it's forming a pocket around this panel, and this way we can fill it with a bunch of sequins and confetti pieces, and we're going to have a really pretty shaker card inside of this panel, and that's going to add a lot of embellishment and also some fun interactive elements too. I do like to trim off the corners of the plastic just to keep things nice and flat once we go to glue this onto our card base. For the sequins, I decided to use the new Frosty Mornings sequin mix from Simon Says Stamp, which is so pretty. I really loved the blues and the teals in this mix. I decided I wanted to pair that with a few other things. So I pulled out some silver hearts from Pretty Pink Posh. These are like a confetti mix, and they're just a bunch of silver hearts. I also pulled in some clear droplets from Studio Katia, and these will add a nice clear embellishment in here, and it'll create a bubble effect. So this is going to mix together really, really pretty. I'll remove that final bit of adhesive on that last edge of our panel, which is what we were using to fill up our shaker. Close that up so all the sequins and embellishments are tucked inside. Trim off any corners that might be hanging out the edges. And then we're just going to mix this up and get all those pieces really shaken together and distributed evenly across this shaker card. Look how pretty that is. I decided to continue the teal theme by adding this panel onto some peacock cardstock from Simon Says Stamp. I thought that matched the ink blending really, really nice, and that frames up this whole card. Speaking of frames, I die cut the holographic silver cardstock from Simon Says Stamp with the A2 rectangle frames die set. This is a frame set that creates really thin border frames that go perfectly with A2 size cards. So I'm going to use the second to largest frame to frame up my shaker card. And I really love how that silver paired up with the silver hearts. For a greeting, I decided to pick out a sentiment from the new XL Love Greetings stamp set, new from the And Back Again collection. I stamped that on to black cardstock and with embossing ink, and then heat embossed that with white embossing powder. That sentiment got popped up on the left-hand side of the heart, and now that we have our shaker filled and everything, we have this beautiful teal shaker card that looks absolutely beautiful. As most of you know, my cats love to partake in the filming of my card processes. So Oscar popped in here and of course banged the camera on his way through. He's going to sit down as we create the next card with me, which happens to be this really pretty gradient glitter background. This is another fun technique that I enjoy creating with, is when you use a clear glitter gel to apply over top of ink blending. It enhances your ink blending so beautifully, and I really love how this card turned out. So I have the new Tumbling Outline Hearts stencil, which I actually designed for Simon Says Stamp. I've already sprayed it with pixie spray, and I'm going to attach that down onto some white cardstock. As I told you, Oscar wanted to partake in this video, so his tail is what you see hanging in from the top of the screen. To start off with, I pulled out some bubblegum ink, and I'm going to ink blend over top of the stencil on the paper here to create a soft blend of pink ink. My goal is to create a gradient of pink colors across this panel. I'm going to have the lightest color start at the top, and then the darker colors are going to go down the bottom of the card. Sweets was the second color. I'm going to transition that from bubblegum along the top to sweets in the middle. And then finally we'll pull out taffy, which is a nice dark pink and really pretty. We're going to focus that along the bottom of the stenciling. But we don't want to remove the stencil just yet. We want to add our stenciled glitter on top. So I've pulled out some Brutus Monroe Glitz glitter gel, and I'm going to apply this onto a stencil pal from ThermoWeb. I really like using the stencil pal for large areas because it helps me cover things a lot faster, and I can really smooth things out nicely with this large piece. So I'm going to apply that paste onto the stencil pal and then just slowly start working that over top of my background, covering all sections of it with the glitter gel. This glitter gel is translucent, but it has a really pretty clear finish. And so now we're going to have that beautiful glitter on top of our pink stenciling, and once this dries, this is going to look absolutely stunning. So I decided I wanted to cut this from an A2 rectangle die from Simon Says Stamp. This is actually part of a nesting set, and this one's the second to largest of those dies. I'm also going to pull out the new I Think I'll Keep You die set, and I'm going to cut the main sentiment from some red glitter cardstock. I also cut the little heart that's included in the greeting from some pink glitter cardstock. Then my next step was to add a shadow layer, which also comes as part of the die. Thomas, my other cat, is checking that one out. I also cut the die from some white cardstock so that I could stack up the glitter greeting on top of the white cardstock for a dimensional effect. So these pieces are stacked together, and this will make the sentiment just a tad thicker than just one die cut layer. And so that'll give it just a little bit of lift off of the shadow layer. I really like the dimension, but it doesn't add a ton of bulk. So this helps give my sentiment some depth without creating that bulky effect. And I did the same thing with the heart. I also cut that from some white cardstock and then glued that underneath the glitter layer so that way we have that same dimension across the whole thing. So my glitter stencil panel I'm covering with some dot runner from Simon Says Stamp on the back side, and then I'm going to layer this onto some matte silver cardstock from Simon. I'm going to trim this silver cardstock down so that way it creates a really thin border around my card panel. That will get popped up onto my A2 size card with foam tape. I'm using foam tape from Scrapbook Adhesives, and I'm going to lay that right into the center of my card. Once I have that attached, then I also put a bit of foam tape on the back side of my greeting, and I'll attach that right in the middle of our heart panel. We're almost done, but I did decide to add one more small detail, which was a sentiment strip from the And Back Again collection of sentiment strips. So this one says, I love you, and I'll pop that up along the bottom portion of the I think I'll keep you sentiment, and that's going to complete this glittery card. So between the two cards that I've created today, you've seen two different ways to add glitter paste through your stenciling to create some really pretty effects. I really enjoy using glitter paste. It's one of those products that I reach for constantly, and I love coming up with new ways to be able to incorporate it into my project. So I hope that these two ideas have inspired you to break out your glitter paste and do a bit of stenciling with them and create some really beautiful cards. Thanks so much for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you'll give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. Don't forget, if you'd like to participate in the blog hop, I do have all the details of the hop listed below in the video description. There's a link there to go over to my blog to see all those details. Thanks so much for tuning in today. I will be back soon with more to share. But until I see all of you again, I hope you all have a very wonderful and sparkly day. Bye!